Have you ever clenched sand in your fist, only to see it slip through your fingers the tighter you squeezed? Or maybe you've tried to control every little detail of a situation, only to watch it unravel spectacularly in ways you never anticipated. Why does it feel like the harder we grip, the more life escapes our grasp? And more importantly, what does that say about our approach to control? This is a paradox we've all encountered, whether we realize it or not. The more we try to control the world, our relationships, or even ourselves, the more resistance we seem to face. Why? Because what you try to control often ends up controlling you. Think about it. The person obsessed with controlling their image becomes enslaved to the opinions of others. The perfectionist becomes trapped by their own impossibly high standards. And in our attempts to impose order, we often create chaos. But why does this happen? And how can we navigate it? The paradox of control isn't just a philosophical curiosity, it's a lens through which we can examine some of the most profound challenges of human existence. From ancient Stoicism to modern psychology, thinkers across history have grappled with this question. What should we try to control, and what should we let go? And here's the kicker. Understanding this paradox might just change how you approach everything in your life. Relationships, work, personal growth, even the pursuit of happiness itself, all hinge on how you handle this delicate balance. This is not about giving up or resigning yourself to chaos, far from it. It's about learning to focus your energy where it truly matters, distinguishing between what's within your grasp and what isn't. It's about discovering that sometimes the greatest power lies in letting go. We'll break down this idea from multiple angles. We'll look at how it plays out in your mind and your emotions, why you crave it, why it so often fails you, and how it can backfire when pushed too far. We'll explore what philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Friedrich Nietzsche, and Lao Tzu had to say about control. We'll even dig into the science of it, how modern psychology explains our illusions of control, and why letting go can lead to better mental health and decision-making. And here's the promise. Stick with me, and you'll walk away with a fresh perspective, one that will empower you to let go of the futile struggles for control while reclaiming what truly matters. By the end, you'll understand why the paradox of control isn't something to fear, but something to embrace. Imagine this. What if the key to happiness wasn't in holding on tighter, but in loosening your grip? What if by understanding this paradox you could unlock a sense of freedom and clarity you've never known before? It's not an exaggeration to say that this one shift in perspective could transform how you see the world and your place in it. So, whether you're here because you've been caught in the endless cycle of trying to control the uncontrollable, or you're just curious about how this paradox could apply to your life, you're in the right place. Let's unravel the mystery of control one layer at a time. Let's begin by understanding what we mean by control. At its core, it is the ability to direct, regulate, or manage something to achieve a desired outcome. It's an essential part of life. After all, without it, how would we navigate the complexities of the world? Think about it. When you steer a car, you control its direction to get safely to your destination. When you manage your time, you control your day to achieve your goals. Control in this sense is neither good nor bad. It's simply a tool we use to interact with the world. But here's where things get tricky. When we try to extend it beyond our natural limits, we often find ourselves in trouble. Why do humans crave it so deeply? To answer this, we need to look at our evolutionary roots. Thousands of years ago, survival depended on controlling our environment to some degree. Early humans needed to predict the weather, hunt effectively, and find shelter to stay alive. The more control they had over these factors, the safer they felt. Over time, this desire for control became hardwired into our psyche. Even today, it provides a sense of security and stability. When we feel in control, Life seems more predictable, and uncertainty feels less threatening. But this instinct can also lead us astray, especially when we try to manage things that are inherently unpredictable, like other people, the future, or even our emotions. It's important to distinguish between healthy and unhealthy control. Healthy control is about focusing on what's within your power, like your actions, thoughts, and decisions. For example, studying for a test, practicing a skill, or choosing to respond calmly in a stressful situation are all forms of healthy control. These actions empower you and lead to growth. Unhealthy control, on the other hand, involves trying to dominate or manipulate things outside your influence. Think of a person who constantly worries about what others think of them, micromanages every aspect of their partner's life, or obsesses over outcomes they can't guarantee. This kind of control doesn't just fail, it often creates the very problems it's trying to prevent. Now let's dive into the paradox. At its heart, the paradox is this: the more you try to control something, the more it seems to slip out of your grasp. Why does this happen? Because control can create resistance. When you impose your will too forcefully on a situation or person, you often trigger pushback, conflict, or unintended consequences. For instance, imagine a leader who micromanages every detail of their team's work. Instead of fostering productivity, they might create a toxic environment where employees feel stifled and disengaged. Similarly, think about someone who tries to control every aspect of their appearance or reputation. Their obsession can lead to anxiety, burnout, and even self-sabotage. This idea is not new, it's a lesson embedded in stories and philosophies throughout history. Take the myth of King Midas, for example. Midas wanted to control his wealth and turned everything he touched into gold. But his greed backfired when he couldn't eat or even touch his loved ones without turning them into lifeless gold. Or consider the story of Icarus, who ignored his father's advice and flew too close to the sun in an attempt to control his flight. His wings melted and he fell into the sea. Both myths illustrate how the desire for excessive control often leads to disastrous outcomes. This paradox has deep philosophical roots, particularly in Stoicism. The Stoics, ancient Greek and Roman philosophers, believed that a fulfilling life comes from focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you cannot. Epictetus, a prominent Stoic thinker, put it simply: some things are up to us and some things are not. According to the Stoics, what's within your control are your thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Everything else, like the behavior of others, external events, or even your own health, is outside your influence. Trying to control these external factors is not only futile, but also a recipe for frustration and unhappiness. Instead, the Stoics taught that peace comes from accepting life as it unfolds and responding wisely to whatever challenges arise. To illustrate, imagine being stuck in traffic. You can't control the cars around you or the speed of the traffic flow, but you can control how you react. You can choose to get angry and stressed, or you can take a deep breath, play some calming music, and use the time to reflect. By focusing on your response rather than the situation, you regain a sense of power without trying to control the uncontrollable. Eastern philosophies, particularly Taoism, offer a similar perspective. In Taoism, there's a concept called Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action or non-doing. This doesn't mean doing nothing, it means aligning yourself with the natural flow of life instead of resisting it. Imagine a river flowing downstream. If you try to swim against the current, you'll exhaust yourself, but if you go with the flow, you'll move effortlessly and harmoniously. Taoism teaches that the more you try to force things, the more you disrupt the balance of life. Instead, true power comes from surrendering to the natural order and acting in harmony with it. One Taoist story beautifully captures this idea. It tells of an old man who falls into a rushing river. Onlookers fear he'll drown, but he emerges unharmed downstream. When asked how he survived, he replies, "I didn't fight the water. I let it carry me and adapted to its flow." This story highlights the wisdom of letting go and trusting the process, rather than trying to control what's beyond your power. Both Stoicism and Taoism offer practical wisdom for navigating the paradox of control in modern life. They remind us that while we can't dictate the events of the world, we can control how we interpret and respond to them. By focusing on what's within our sphere of influence, we can find peace, freedom, and even strength in letting go. Understanding the paradox of control isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's a transformative mindset. When you accept that not everything is within your grasp, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and frustration. You stop wasting energy on battles you can't win and start focusing on what truly matters: your actions, your choices, and your attitude. This shift can lead to a more fulfilling and balanced life, where you're no longer a prisoner of your own need for control. Let's shift our focus to the psychological side. One of the most fascinating concepts in psychology is the illusion of control. This refers to the human tendency to overestimate our ability to influence events, even when the outcomes are largely determined by chance. For example, in studies where participants were asked to roll dice or play lottery games, many believed they could improve their chances of winning by rolling the dice a certain way or choosing lucky numbers. Logically, we know these outcomes are random, but our brains trick us into thinking we have some influence. This illusion isn't limited to games of chance. It shows up in everyday life, like when people wear lucky socks before an important event or avoid walking under ladders. These small rituals give us a sense of control over situations where we actually have none. Why do we fall for this illusion? One reason is that it feels good. Having control, or even just the illusion of it, reduces anxiety and helps us feel more confident. This tendency is deeply rooted in our psychology. Think about it. If you believe you have control, you're more likely to take action, even if the odds are against you. This belief has evolutionary advantages. Early humans who felt in control of their environment were more likely to take risks that led to survival, like hunting or exploring new territories. Over time, this belief in control, even when it wasn't entirely accurate, became ingrained in the human mind. However, this same tendency can backfire when we cling to control in situations where it's clearly impossible, like predicting the stock market or trying to manage someone else's emotions. Another reason we crave control is emotional. Uncertainty is uncomfortable. It makes us feel vulnerable, exposed, and at times even scared. Imagine walking into a dark room you've never been in before. Your first instinct is to find the light switch, because being in control of your environment makes you feel safe. This emotional craving for control shows up in all areas of life. We plan our days meticulously, track every penny we spend, and even try to predict the future through weather apps and long-term financial planning. These efforts are not inherently bad. They help us function in a complex world. But when taken too far, they can become a source of stress rather than relief. For instance, someone who constantly checks their phone for updates on their flight status may end up feeling more anxious than reassured. The irony is that our attempts to avoid uncertainty often create more of it. When does the desire for control cross the line and become destructive? A clear example is micromanagement. Imagine a boss who insists on approving every tiny decision their employees make. They rewrite emails, dictate how to organize desks, and insist on constant updates. At first, this might seem like a way to maintain high standards, but over time, it creates frustration and resentment. It doesn't mean abandoning effort or ambition. It means recognizing that you can only control the process, not the result. For instance, imagine you're planting a garden. You can choose the seeds, prepare the soil, and water the plants diligently. But you can't control the weather or ensure that every seed will sprout. The Stoics teach that your responsibility is to do your best with the parts you can control and release any anxiety about the rest. This mindset not only reduces stress but also helps you approach life with greater resilience and perspective. To help cultivate this perspective, the Stoics developed practical exercises that remain relevant today. One of these is the view from above exercise, which involves imagining yourself looking down at the world from a bird's eye view. From this perspective, your individual problems shrink in comparison to the vastness of the universe. This practice reminds you of how small most worries are in the grand scheme of things, helping you let go of unnecessary stress. Another useful exercise is premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This involves mentally rehearsing potential challenges or setbacks before they happen. For example, if you're preparing for a job interview, you might consider what could go wrong, such as being asked a difficult question or facing rejection. By imagining these scenarios in advance, you can prepare yourself emotionally and strategically, making it easier to stay composed if they occur. These Stoic principles align closely with modern self-development approaches. For instance, the idea of focusing on what you can control is echoed in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, a widely used psychological method for managing anxiety and stress. CBT teaches people to identify and challenge unhelpful thoughts, replacing them with realistic and constructive perspectives. Similarly, mindfulness practices encourage individuals to focus on the present moment and accept things as they are, without getting caught up in what they can't change. Both approaches reflect the Stoic belief that inner peace comes from mastering your mind and responses, rather than trying to control the uncontrollable. One of the most inspiring examples of Stoicism in action comes from Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, and one of the most famous Stoic philosophers. Despite ruling during a time of immense political instability, war, and personal loss, Marcus Aurelius remained committed to the Stoic principles of self-control and acceptance. In his personal journal, which we now know as Meditations, he wrote extensively about the importance of focusing on one's duties and maintaining a virtuous character, regardless of external circumstances. For example, during a devastating plague that swept through the Roman Empire, Marcus couldn't control the spread of the disease or the suffering it caused. But he could control how he responded as a leader by staying calm, making rational decisions, and prioritizing the welfare of his people. His ability to remain grounded in the face of such challenges is a testament to the power of Stoic philosophy. The Stoic perspective on control offers a blueprint for living with greater clarity and purpose. By embracing the dichotomy of control, you free yourself from the stress of trying to manage the unmanageable. Instead, you channel your energy into what truly matters, your thoughts, actions, and character. This shift not only leads to greater inner peace, but also empowers you to navigate life's uncertainties with grace and resilience. The next time you find yourself caught in a web of worry or frustration, remember this simple truth. Some things are up to you, and some things are not. Focus on the former, and let the rest take care of itself. When it comes to understanding control, Western philosophers and psychologists have provided profound insights into how the need to control shapes our lives and minds. They've explored the consequences of overreaching control, the ways it distorts our inner and outer worlds, and how letting go of this need can lead to a more authentic and meaningful existence. Let's unpack their ideas and see how they apply to our modern lives. Let's start with Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most provocative and influential philosophers in Western thought. Nietzsche introduced the concept of the will to power, which he saw as the driving force behind human ambition and creativity. The will to power is essentially the desire to assert influence, to grow, and to overcome limitations. But Nietzsche also warned that when this drive becomes excessive, When we strive for absolute control, it can distort our sense of self and lead to inauthenticity. Think about a person who sacrifices their true values to climb the social ladder, constantly curating their image to fit societal expectations. In trying to control how the world perceives them, they lose touch with who they really are. Nietzsche believed that true power doesn't come from controlling external circumstances, but from embracing the chaos of life and channeling it into personal growth. He urged individuals to create their own values and live authentically, even in the face of uncertainty and unpredictability. Albert Camus, another towering figure in philosophy, approached the question of control from a very different angle. Camus is best known for his philosophy of the absurd, the idea that life has no inherent meaning and that humans, in their search for meaning, are bound to confront this absurdity. Instead of despairing over this lack of control, Camus argued that we should embrace it. In his essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus tells the story of Sisyphus, a figure from Greek mythology condemned to roll a boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down each time he reaches the top. Camus saw Sisyphus as a metaphor for the human condition. Even though we can't control the ultimate outcome of life, we can choose how we face its challenges. By accepting the absurd and refusing to be paralyzed by it, we gain a sense of freedom. Camus believed that life becomes richer and more meaningful when we stop trying to control it and instead live fully in the present moment, appreciating the beauty and experiences it offers. Moving into psychology, Carl Jung offers profound insights into the dangers of over-controlling our inner world. Jung's concept of the shadow self refers to the parts of our personality that we suppress or deny because they don't align with our self-image or societal expectations. For example, someone who sees themselves as kind and compassionate might suppress feelings of anger or jealousy, refusing to acknowledge their darker emotions. But Jung argued that this attempt to control and suppress our shadow self only makes it more powerful, leading to inner conflict and projection. When we deny parts of ourselves, they don't disappear. They show up in other ways, like impulsive actions, recurring conflicts, or even mental health struggles. Jung believed that true self-acceptance comes from integrating the shadow, acknowledging and embracing all parts of ourselves, even the ones we find uncomfortable. By letting go of the need to control our inner world, we can achieve a deeper sense of wholeness and peace. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, approached this issue from a profoundly personal perspective. In his book Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl describes how, even in the unimaginable suffering of a concentration camp, he discovered that while he couldn't control his circumstances, he could control his response to them. Frankl believed that humans find meaning not in avoiding suffering, but in how they face it. He wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Frankl's message is a powerful reminder that the ultimate form of control lies in our ability to choose our attitude, even in the face of adversity. This idea aligns with the Stoic concept of focusing on what is within our power, but Frankl takes it a step further by emphasizing the importance of finding meaning and purpose in life, even when circumstances seem bleak. The ideas of Nietzsche, Camus, Jung, and Frankl offer valuable lessons for navigating this paradox in our own lives. One key takeaway is the importance of authenticity. Nietzsche's warning about the dangers of excessive control reminds us to stay true to ourselves and resist the temptation to conform to external expectations. This can be as simple as reflecting on your values and making choices that align with who you are, rather than who you think you should be. Camus teaches us to embrace life's uncertainty and let go of the need to find ultimate answers. This doesn't mean giving up, it means shifting your focus from controlling outcomes to appreciating the journey. For example, instead of obsessing over whether a project will succeed, Focus on the process and what you can learn along the way. This mindset can help reduce anxiety and make life more enjoyable. From Jung, we learn the importance of self-acceptance. Rather than trying to suppress your darker emotions or impulses, take the time to understand them. Techniques like journaling or therapy can help you explore your shadow self and integrate it into your identity. By acknowledging and accepting all parts of yourself, you can reduce inner conflict and build emotional resilience. Finally, Frankl's emphasis on meaning reminds us to focus on what we can control, our attitude and perspective. When faced with challenges, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? Even in difficult situations, finding a sense of purpose can help you move forward with strength and dignity. For example, if you're dealing with a setback at work, instead of dwelling on the frustration, look for ways to develop new skills or strengthen your relationships with colleagues. Together, these thinkers offer a roadmap for navigating the complexities of control. They remind us that while we can't dictate every aspect of life, we can choose how we respond to it. By embracing uncertainty, accepting ourselves, and finding meaning in our experiences, we can break free from the traps of over-control and live more authentic, fulfilling lives. To wrap up today's discussion on the paradox of control, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've uncovered. Control is a natural human instinct. It provides us with a sense of security, an illusion of mastery over our lives. But as we've seen, the harder we try to grip onto control, the more life tends to slip through our fingers. This paradox lies at the heart of many of our struggles, whether we're trying to control our emotions, our relationships, or our circumstances. The truth is, the more we attempt to control things that are outside our power, the more we end up enslaved by them. This is where the power of letting go comes into play. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning our goals or responsibilities, nor does it mean resigning ourselves to a passive existence. Instead, it means learning to discern between what is within our control and what is not. It is in releasing our attachment to outcomes that we open ourselves to a deeper, more authentic way of living. As philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Lao Tzu, and Epictetus have shown us, the key to peace lies not in managing the uncontrollable, but in mastering our responses to life's unpredictability. When we focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, we free ourselves from the unnecessary burden of stress and frustration. Think about a situation where things are not going your way. Instead of battling against the tide, what if you let it carry you? By doing so, you might just find that what felt like a chaotic moment is actually an opportunity for growth and wisdom. This is the essence of what Taoism calls Wu Wei, effortless action. It's about aligning ourselves with the natural flow of life and acting with intention rather than force. Psychologically, we've learned that our need for control often stems from a desire to avoid uncertainty. Yet by embracing uncertainty, we can step into a space of greater freedom. Whether it's through mindfulness, journaling, or reframing our perspective, we can shift our focus away from trying to control outcomes to embracing the present moment. It's not about doing nothing. It's about doing the right things, with the right mindset. Employees feel stifled, creativity suffers, and the workplace becomes toxic. The boss, instead of feeling more in control, is constantly stressed and overwhelmed. This is the paradox of control in action. The more they try to control, the more things fall apart. Perfectionism is another example of how control can backfire. A perfectionist is someone who sets impossibly high standards for themselves or others and feels like anything less than perfect is a failure. This mindset often stems from a fear of losing control. For example, a perfectionist student might spend hours rewriting an essay because they're terrified of getting a bad grade. While striving for excellence can be positive, Perfectionism is different. It leads to procrastination, burnout, and a constant sense of dissatisfaction. The student may turn in their essay late or not at all, feeling defeated before they even start. Again, the harder they try to control the outcome, the more they struggle to achieve it. Obsessive behaviors also stem from a destructive need for control. Consider someone who obsessively cleans their house, not because it's dirty, but because they feel anxious when things aren't perfectly in order. They might spend hours rearranging furniture or scrubbing already clean surfaces, unable to relax until everything feels just right. This behavior is often tied to anxiety. Cleaning provides a temporary sense of control over their environment, but it doesn't address the deeper fears driving the behavior. In extreme cases, this need can take over their life, leaving little room for relationships, hobbies, or relaxation. It becomes especially harmful in relationships. Imagine a partner who tries to control every aspect of their significant other's life, from what they wear to who they talk to. While this might come from a place of insecurity or love, it often leads to tension and resentment. The controlled partner feels trapped, while the controlling partner becomes consumed by their own fears. Instead of creating closeness, their need for control pushes the other person away. This is another example of how it can create the very problem it's trying to solve. What's the solution? The first step is recognizing when your desire for control is causing harm. Ask yourself, am I trying to control something I have no influence over? Am I focusing on things outside my sphere of control, like other people's opinions or the outcome of a situation? If the answer is yes, it's time to shift your focus. Instead of trying to control the uncontrollable, redirect your energy toward what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and responses. This shift isn't easy, but it's incredibly freeing. It allows you to let go of unnecessary stress and focus on what truly matters. Psychologists often suggest mindfulness as a way to break free from unhealthy control. Mindfulness involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment. When you're mindful, you're less likely to get caught up in thoughts about what might go wrong or how to prevent it. Instead, you focus on what you can do right now. For example, if you're worried about an upcoming exam, mindfulness might help you focus on studying effectively rather than spiraling into anxiety about the grade. This doesn't mean ignoring the future, it means approaching it with a clearer, calmer mindset. Another helpful approach is practicing self-compassion. People who struggle with this often hold themselves to impossibly high standards and beat themselves up when they fall short. Self-compassion involves treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend. If you make a mistake, instead of obsessing over it, remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes. This simple shift in perspective can help you let go of perfectionism and focus on growth instead. Ultimately, understanding the psychology of control helps us see why we crave it and how it can lead us astray. It's not about eliminating it entirely, that's neither possible nor desirable. Instead, it's about finding balance. Control is a tool, not a solution. When used wisely, it can help us navigate life's challenges, but when we let it dominate our thoughts and actions, it becomes a trap. By recognizing the limits of control and focusing on what truly matters, we can break free from this trap and live more balanced, fulfilling lives. Letting go of control might sound counterintuitive, especially in a world that often praises those who take charge or make things happen. But what if true strength lies in knowing when to release your grip? Eastern philosophies, particularly Taoism and Zen Buddhism, offer profound insights into this idea. They teach us that letting go isn't about giving up. It's about aligning with the natural flow of life, accepting what is, and finding peace in the present moment. By exploring these teachings and applying practical techniques, we can learn how to let go in ways that enhance our lives rather than diminish them. In Taoism, there's a concept called Wu Wei, which is often translated as effortless action or non-doing. But don't be misled by the term. Wu Wei doesn't mean doing nothing or being lazy. It's about taking action in harmony with the natural flow of the world rather than fighting against it. Imagine a river flowing downstream. You could exhaust yourself trying to swim upstream, or you could let the current carry you while steering gently in the direction you want to go. Wu Wei is about recognizing when to act and when to let things unfold on their own. For example, in a difficult conversation, instead of forcing your point of view, you might listen deeply and respond thoughtfully, letting the interaction flow naturally. By practicing Wu Wei, you conserve energy and create less resistance in life. Zen Buddhism offers a similar perspective on letting go, particularly through the practice of acceptance and presence. Zen teaches that much of our suffering comes from resisting reality, wishing things were different, or trying to control outcomes that are beyond our reach. The Zen approach encourages us to fully experience the present moment without judgment. This doesn't mean passively accepting everything that happens. Rather, it means being mindful of what is happening now and responding with clarity and wisdom. For instance, if you're feeling overwhelmed by a situation, instead of panicking or trying to fix everything immediately, you could take a moment to breathe, acknowledge your feelings, and then decide your next step with a calm mind. Zen reminds us that peace isn't found in controlling the future, but in being fully present here and now. So how can we bring these philosophies into our daily lives? One of the first steps is learning to distinguish between what you can and cannot control. This might seem simple, but it requires a deep level of self-awareness and honesty. A helpful exercise is to ask yourself, what part of this situation is within my influence? For example, if you're worried about a job interview, you can control how much you prepare, how you present yourself, and how you respond to questions. But you can't control the interviewer's mood, the competition, or the final decision. By focusing on what you can control, you can reduce unnecessary stress and channel your energy effectively. Another practical tool for letting go of control is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment without judgment. When you're mindful, you become more aware of your thoughts, emotions, and actions, which makes it easier to let go of the need to control everything. For example, if you notice yourself getting frustrated because something isn't going your way, mindfulness allows you to pause, recognize the feeling, and choose a healthier response. You might say to yourself, I can't control this outcome, but I can control how I react. Over time, mindfulness helps you develop a sense of inner calm and resilience. Journaling is another powerful technique for letting go. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can help you gain clarity and perspective on situations that feel overwhelming. For example, if you're struggling with a problem at work, journaling can help you identify what's really bothering you and what you can do about it. It's also a way to release pent-up emotions and let go of the things you can't change. Some people find it helpful to create 2 columns in their journal, one for things they can control and another for things they can't. This simple exercise can be a powerful reminder of where to focus your energy. Reframing your perspective is another key strategy for letting go. Often our struggles with this come from the way we interpret situations. For example, if you view a setback as a failure, you might feel the urge to control everything to prevent it from happening again. But if you reframe the setback as a learning opportunity, you're more likely to accept it and move forward with less stress. Reframing is about shifting your focus from what's wrong to what's possible. It's not about ignoring problems, but about seeing them in a way that empowers you to take meaningful action without unnecessary worry. Ultimately, letting go of control is a practice, a skill you develop over time. It requires patience, self-compassion, and a willingness to embrace uncertainty. There will be moments when you fall back into old patterns of trying to control everything, and that's okay. The key is to notice when it happens, remind yourself of what you've learned, and start again. Every step you take toward letting go brings you closer to a life of greater peace, freedom, and joy. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning your goals or ignoring your responsibilities. It's about approaching life with a sense of balance and trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, and trust that things will unfold as they're meant to. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you create space for growth, creativity, and unexpected opportunities. And in that space, you may find that life becomes not only easier, but also richer and more fulfilling. As you let go, you begin to discover that what you once thought was weakness, surrendering control, is actually a profound source of strength. To truly understand the paradox of control, we must turn to the teachings of Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that offers timeless wisdom for navigating life's challenges. At the heart of Stoicism lies the dichotomy of control, a simple but profound concept that helps us distinguish between what we can influence and what lies beyond our reach. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously put it this way: "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." This statement forms the foundation of Stoic thinking and is perhaps one of the most practical tools for dealing with the unpredictability of life. So, what exactly did Epictetus mean? For the Stoics, the things up to us are our own thoughts, actions, choices, and attitudes. These are the aspects of life where we have direct influence. For example, you can decide how to react to an insult, how much effort to put into a task, or how to treat others. On the other hand, things not up to us include external events, the opinions of others, and even the ultimate outcomes of our actions. You can prepare thoroughly for a test, but you can't guarantee the questions will align with what you studied. You can offer kindness to someone, but you can't control whether they'll reciprocate. The Stoics argue that peace and freedom come from focusing on the things you can control while accepting the rest as it is. One of the most important lessons in Stoicism is the distinction between internal and external control. Internal control refers to your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, things that are entirely yours to manage. External control includes factors like other people's actions, natural events, or random occurrences. A Stoic would say that worrying about external matters is a waste of energy because they're beyond your influence. Instead, they encourage you to cultivate mastery over your internal world. For example, if someone criticizes you unfairly, you can't stop them from speaking, but you can control how you interpret their words and whether you let them affect your self-esteem. By shifting your focus inward, you gain a sense of agency and stability, even when the external world feels chaotic. The Stoics also emphasize letting go of attachment to outcomes. This doesn't mean I encourage you to reflect on your own life. What are you trying to control? Are there areas where you're gripping too tightly, causing more harm than good? Take a moment to consider how letting go might not only bring you peace but also open doors to new possibilities. Remember, letting go doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. It's about trusting that life will unfold in its own time and trusting yourself to respond with wisdom and grace. As we conclude, think about the practices we've discussed today. Whether it's adopting a Stoic mindset, practicing mindfulness, or embracing the wisdom of Taoism, all of these approaches offer a path to peace and clarity. It's not about eliminating control entirely, it's about knowing when to let go and when to take action. I challenge you, reflect on what you're trying to control. What can you let go of today? How might that bring you more freedom, more joy, and more peace in your life? Letting go is not just an idea, it's a practice, And it starts with you, right here, right now. Take a deep breath and consider the possibilities that await when you stop trying to control what you can't and focus on what you can. The paradox of control may seem daunting, but in embracing it, you may just find the key to a life of greater fulfillment and peace.